Happy 2023. It's the start of a new year. And one of the things that I am so looking forward to is the Healthy Readers Book Club and all the fabulous books that we are going to read in 2023. However, I also would like to take a moment and go through and do a mini synopsis review, tell you what I liked, what I didn't like, of the amazing books that we read in 2022. This is the stack of them. It was an amazing year for the Healthy Readers Book Club, and we read quite a variety of books. They were really, really wonderful. So first up is Finding Yourself in the Kitchen, and this is by Dana Velden, who contributes to The Kitchen, Kitchn. And this was a really, really sweet book. It was a fabulous way to start the year. There were a lot of kitchen meditations, a lot of things to think about. And then I do this every time there's recipes in a book. I tag them so I can find the recipes. There were a lot of really delicious recipes. I have since gone through and made some of them, including the simple weeknight curry, which was so delicious and super, super easy to make. So that was really wonderful to have. And I think that this was just a great book. One of the things that was nice about it too, it was a quick read. It was super easy. So that was super fun. Then we have The Food Explorer by Daniel Stone, The True Adventures of a Globe-Trotting Botanist Who Transformed What America Eats. This was a fascinating book, just amazing, talking about how all of the things that we take for granted, all of the foods that we have that come originally from other places, how they were discovered and shipped back. And it was done at a time when global transport was not nearly as convenient or easy as it is now. The adventures of David Fairchild, the man who traveled the world to bring us so many wonderful and delicious things, was just amazing. This was a very delightful read and a lot of fun. I learned so much from that book. Next up, we have Consider the Fork by B. Wilson, A History of How We Cook and Eat. This was another really great book. And here's the thing, when I choose the books for the book club, I have not read them in advance. It's not like I read a book and go, okay, everybody's going to read this book. I read the description. I do a little bit of research. I see what other people thought of the book or what the topic is, if I think it's something that would be interesting for us to learn more about. And then I'm reading it side by side with everybody else, learning just along with everybody else. And then it's a guided book club. So I do go ahead and take the time to find videos or research or information related to what we're reading about to add to our experience of going through the book. So this book was amazing, 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 talking about so much about technology in the kitchen, how we eat, why different cultures eat the way they do. That was really fascinating. And then the science behind so much of what goes on. There were some really interesting little stories in here. It was just a fun book to read. Lots of highlights and all kinds of annotations in here. I really enjoyed this book a lot, and I highly recommend it for anybody who is interested in food and how our food culture came to be the way that it is. The 7 Culinary Wonders of the World, A History of Honey, Salt, Chili, Pork, Rice, Cacao, and Tomato. And again, more delicious recipes. I will say I liked this book. It's by Jenny Linford. The illustrations are beautiful. The information was interesting. I don't like the way the book was laid out. It was very disconcerting. The recipes, I'm not sure I understood how the recipes were inserted in. Obviously, pork recipes are in the pork section, etc. But you'd be reading and then all of a sudden there would be a recipe that would come up in the middle, and that was kind of weird. But then there were these beautiful illustration pages in between that were just delightful to look at. So it was a good book. It was an interesting book, and I I learned from it, which was great. I'm not sure I think I would have preferred the recipes to be at the end of each section instead of scattered throughout. Personal thing. Next, this was the weightiest book of the year. Waste: Uncovering the Global Food Scandal by Tristam Stewart. This was a really, really hard book to read. So I got this book for the book club. I picked it because I wanted us to learn more. 40% of all the food that is grown in the world winds up being discarded. I think the biggest takeaway from this book was that the vast majority of the discard is actually not on consumers, although consumers bear the brunt of responsibility for it. We're always told that we need to save more, waste less, etc. But it turns out there's a whole raft of waste that happens from where it's grown until it gets to our grocery store, or even the grocery stores have waste as well. So when it gets to our table, and that there needs to be more done. There are certainly some suggestions in here about things that we can do. I will say he is a huge proponent, or appears to be a huge proponent, of plant-based foods. I respectfully disagree with that. I think that there is room for all eaters, but I did learn an awful lot about this, including a lot that was really, really frustrating about some of the industrial or corporate food waste that happens that sort of disappears. It's not on our radar as consumers. So that was really eye-opening. Next, Plastic Free: How I Kicked the Plastic Habit and How You Can Too by Beth Terry. This was a great book. I will say, I think the hardest thing about this book was we did read it over a 2-month period of time because it had a lot of information in it. It has a lot. It's a lot to take in, and I found it a little bit challenging because there's just so much. It was kind of like a fire hose in that regard, which is not a bad thing, just something to be aware of if you're going to read it. I love, love, love all the resources that Beth put into this book, and how mindful she was about everything that she's talking about, highlighting some of the people who are also working to help reduce plastic. That was really, really fascinating. It was also really interesting, by the way. I didn't know that book covers have plastic in them. So this book has a paper cover and a non-glue binding. So I actually wound up taking the cover off while I was reading it because my cover got kind of wrecked. I was trying to keep it on. That didn't work so well. And then, of course, my notes. But this was a great book. I actually changed some things in my house based on what I read here, and we were able to incorporate more plastic-free into our lifestyle, and we are continuing to do so step by step. So I think out of all the books we read this year, this one was probably the most impactful when it came to change. So Plastic Free by Beth Terry. It was a really great book. Next, this was my favorite book of the entire year. Eat Like a Human: Nourishing Foods and Ancient Ways of Cooking to Revolutionize Your Health by Dr. Bill Schindler. So I will say I had the opportunity to meet Dr. Schindler at a conference, and I actually interviewed him. I'll put a link to the interview that we did. He's amazing. This book, first of all, tons of recipes in this book. Who knew that there would be that much in here? I think there's like 75 recipes in here. It's quite a lot. This was an amazing book because of how well he lays out how we eat, how we need to eat, and some of the things that are missing in our modern diet that are really important, and how we can make healthy changes. He and I did have a little discussion about the bug thing. Not sure I can do that, although, you know, he's a big proponent of that. However, it really was an amazing read, very well written, fascinating information. And like I said, this, out of all the books we read this year, this was my favorite book. Pandora's Lunchbox, How Processed Food Took Over the American Meal by Melanie Werner. So this was a really interesting book because it talked about all the different ways that our food system gets co-opted by the different things that food producers do to them. There's, a lot of industry background in here, and it's always amazing to look at and see how our food is modified, changed for the benefit of the producer that really maybe isn't such a great choice for us. So this was definitely an interesting book, lots of great information. I thought it was well written. Something like this could be a very, very dry read, and this was not a super dry read. So that was great. This was another super sweet book. So we had Finding Yourself in the Kitchen, which was very sweet. That kicked off our year. And then for November, we read Thanks 1,000, Gratitude Journey by A.J. Jacobs. First of all, I love A.J. Jacobs, the way he writes. I have read, I think, all of his books. And he had a thought one day about what it would be like to thank 1,000 people who were somehow connected to his morning cup of coffee. And so that was just really, really amazing because, first of all, to start thinking about all of the people involved and, the lid manufacturer and the cup sleeve manufacturer and the growers and the harvesters and the roasters, and it becomes this whole huge chain of people. And most of that tends to be invisible in our everyday life. So that is really kind of fascinating to see how his thought process was, and then how he interacted with them, the journeys that he went on to be able to simply say, thank you. I will say this helped deepen my own gratitude practice a little bit. And so I do appreciate that. And I think it was a very short read. It was a sweet book and definitely worth reading. I thought it was really good. Last book of the year, Cooked by Michael Pollan. So this is a natural history of transformation. First of all, I like Michael Pollan. I don't know if I've read every single one of his books, but actually I think he's got a new one that I haven't read yet. But I like his books a lot. They're really, he's such a great writer. And there are several times while I was reading this book, actually, I don't know if you can see in my thing, I put a PH next to if something is phrased in a way that I like it. And there were just so many PHs in there because his use of language is amazing. The journey that he went on to learn about the different elements, picking a food that represented that element and then diving into it was really enjoyable. He's a very amusing writer. There were a lot of laughs in here. He's very, very amazing in how he presents the information and helps you think about it so that you can really absorb and learn from it. So this was another really wonderful book. And I think it was a great book to end the year with because it lined us up to thinking about how we interact with our food and the different elements. And I thought that was a great choice. I also really liked the adventures that he took us on and finding all the different things as part of the guided process, video interviews with people or different aspects of the science behind what he was talking about or interesting thought points. It was really fun to dive into those for this book and share them with everybody who was in the Healthy Readers Book Club. So I thought this was another great book. We had 10 amazing books. We have 10 more coming in the year ahead. And if you want to join us, I'll put the link below. You can become a member of the Healthy Readers Book Club and join into that guided process and get an extra level, a deeper dimension into reading a book and really learning from it. So those are my book reads for 2022. It was great. And I hope you enjoyed it. And I hope you'll pick up some of those books. Thanks so much. Take care.